This is a non-right triangle, so we will be using law of sines and cosines. I have my chart of angles and sides, big A, big B, big C, little a, little b, little c. I fill it in with big B is 79 degrees, big C is 45 degrees, and little b is 32. So before I determine law of sines or cosines, I noticed that the angles here, I have two of the three angles, and in a triangle, we know that angles add up to 180 degrees. So since I know that all of these angles have to add up to 180 degrees, I can go ahead and find angle A. So I know that for angle A, I'll have 79 degrees plus 45 degrees plus angle A is equal to 180 degrees. So what I'll do is I will take 180 and I will subtract the 79 and then also subtract the 45. We'll get 56. So angle A is 56 degrees. Now, to determine our side lengths, I have to look for law of sines and cosines. To determine if we're doing law of sines or cosines, I look for pairs. So I do not have big A and little a, but I do have big B and little b. That means I can automatically do law of sines. I will not have to do law of cosines, so I will have to do law of sines twice. Now, using law of sines, I have my big B and little b, therefore I'm going to utilize big B and little b the entire time for both of my law of sines. If I'm looking for what I'm missing a side length. That means that I will utilize, for my law of sines, I'll utilize the little b on top of my law of sines. So it'll actually be little b divided by sine of big B is equal to, so I need to determine which one I'm going to find. So little a will be bigger because of 56 than little c, which is from the 45. I know that the smaller side should be with the smaller angle, so c is going to be with the smaller angle of 45, so little c is the one I'm going to find first. So I will do little c as the numerator and then sine of big C in the denominator. So plugging in the numbers, little b is 32 divided by sine of 79 is equal to little c, I do not know, so I'll put little c over sine of big C, which is 45. Now I'm solving for little c, so I just have to get whatever is attached to it off of it. So little c is being divided by all of sine of 45. So the inverse of division is multiplication. So I'm going to multiply both sides by the entire denominator of sine of 45. So as a reminder, this goes to the numerator, not to the denominator. So the sine of 45 in the denominator and the sine of 45 in the numerator will become 1. Over here I'll have, I'm going to multiply these. And remember that the 45 is a degree and it will not multiply with the actual 32. So this will actually say 32 times sine of 45, and that's being divided by sine of 79. And this will equal to little c. Now I'm going to plug this straight into my calculator as I see it. So I will type in 32 times sine of 45, and I will close that parenthesis to make sure that I close that 45 degrees. And I'll divide that by sine of 79, and again, I will close that parenthesis. I'll press enter, and I'll have little c is approximately 23.0509, and the directions say to round to the nearest tenth. So that will make that 5, will make that 0 go up to a 1. So little c will be 23.1. For the next piece, I have to, again, do law of sines twice, so that's my first one. So my second one, I again will utilize my big B and little b because that was the actual pair I was given, and I know that this pair is correct. So I'm going to utilize big B and little b again. Now I need to find little a, that means that's going to be in my numerator. I'll keep little b in my numerator. So again, I'll use little b over sine of big B is equal to little a over sine of big A. And I will plug in the numbers for that. So again, I have little b was 32 over sine of big B is 79 is equal to little a is unknown over sine of big A, which was 56. So again, to solve, I need to get a by itself. So the inverse of division is multiplication. So I will multiply both sides by sine of 56, again to the numerator. So the numerator will have 32 times sine of 56, and then divided by sine of 79 is going to equal to little a, because the sine of 56 divided by sine of 56 becomes 1. So again, in the calculator, I will type in 32 times sine 56, and I will close a parenthesis. I will divide that by sine of 79, and I will close that parenthesis. And I will get little a of 27.0257. And it says round to the nearest tenth, so this 2 keeps that 0 as a 0. So little a will be 27.0, which I can just leave as 27. Now to double check that this is done correctly, I find on my left side my smallest number, which is 45, and I'll put a little s. And I'll also look for my largest number, which is the 79. I'll put a little L in the corner. I'll do the same thing on the right. So on the right-hand side, my smallest number is 23.1, so I'll put a little s in the corner. And my largest number is 32, so I'll put a little L in that corner. I'll double check that the L's match up and the S's match up. Since they do, I know that I have done this math correctly.